Factair Safe-Air Testers are designed to provide a quick and easy method of carrying out accurate periodic testing of breathing air supplies. This is required by COSH Code of Practice L5 and must be completed to the requirements of BS 4275 and EN 12021. There are two standard versions of the Safe-Air Tester. The F3000, designed primarily for use on airline systems up to 10 bar, and the F3001, designed specifically for high-pressure charging systems. Both versions of the Safe-Air Tester can be supplied in either a laptop-style case or a hard weatherproof case, depending on which option is chosen. In both instances, storage provision is made for a wide range of accessories and equipment. All Safe-Air testers are supplied with the batteries packed separately. These must be installed prior to use, unless it is the intention to power the unit solely from a mains supply. It is important to strictly observe polarity when fitting the batteries and ensure that they are correctly located. If the tester is to be used adjacent to a 13 amp socket, the mains adapter may be used to save battery power. Please note that the unit should be switched off prior to connection or disconnection of the main supply. The test is carried out using Draeger chemical reagent tubes, one each for carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, water and oil. These are supplied in packs of 10 per type and in most cases show the degree of contaminant present as a colour change to the crystals that they contain. The extent of this is read against the scale on the tube. To carry out a test, first switch on the machine by pressing and holding the on-off button on the keypad for approximately 2.5 seconds. The display will show the model number and serial number. Press enter to acknowledge the date of the last calibration and check the battery condition. If the battery condition is OK, press enter. When checking an airline system, ensure that the flow control valve is fully closed and connect the air supply to be tested using a suitable hose. If using an adapter, fit this to the tester first and then fit the hose to the adapter. An F1946 female connector is supplied with the unit. This terminates in a 1/4 BSP male thread and enables an adapter to be made up to suit the user's BA system hoses. Please note that a test can be carried out at any pressure between 1.5 and 10 bar. If the unit is overpressurized, it will automatically shut down and display an overpressure warning. Once the air is connected, press enter. Adjust the system flow control valve so the flow meter registers the required flow for the facepiece to be used. This is best achieved by raising the flow beyond the chosen point and then lowering it so that the top of the float settles at the required value. It is recommended that this flow is left running for the duration of the test to simulate the conditions of use. Carry out the odour test by smelling the exhausted air from the sintered bronze outlet above the flow meter. If there is a serious odour problem, fail the sample at this point of the test. Initiating flows of seriously contaminated air through the tube ports could result in damage to the unit. If the flow, pressure and odour tests are satisfactory, press enter to carry out the tube tests. All flow rates through the tube ports are set, as is the duration of flow through both the carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide ports. Duration of flow through the oil channel and water channel are variable and must be set as follows. Select the water range by means of the up and down scroll buttons. High range is for use on standard airline systems with a fridge dryer or no dryer, and low range is for high pressure cylinders and low pressure systems incorporating desiccant dryers. Having selected the appropriate range, press Enter. The oil time must now be selected by entering the preset Times menu and using the up and down scroll buttons. The time chosen must correspond to the requirements of the particular type of oil used in the system being tested. This information can be found on the data sheet in the documentation wallet and is updated on our website. The tester is programmed with 4 preset times, which cover the vast majority of compressor oils currently available. If the oil used in the system does not correspond to a preset time, the unit has the capability to be programmed with a custom time. This will be stored with the presets for future tests and will remain in the memory until a new custom time is entered. In this example, the oil in the system is known to be Castrol Aircol SN68, with no risk of cross-contamination from other oils. Consequently, the 15-minute preset time has been selected. If an oil time is not selected, the unit will default to 15 minutes. This setting should be used if the oil type in the system is not known or there is a risk of cross-contamination from other oils. Confirm that all settings are correct by selecting Y and pressing Enter. If settings are not correct, press N and repeat the previous procedures, correcting any errors using the scroll buttons. The unit will now commence a 5-minute purge sequence, during which time an airflow will be passed through all 4 tube ports. This clears contaminants from a previous test and ensures that an accurate dew point can be measured. Once the purge is finished, the Draeger tubes can be prepared for insertion. Remove both ends using the cutter provided. This ensures that a clean cut is made and that glass fragments do not fall into the tube ports. Twist the tube gently in the centre hole of the cutter and then push into the outer hole. This will remove and retain the discarded tube tip. As each tube is prepared, it should be inserted into the relevant gland with the arrow pointing outwards and tightened firmly. Once all 4 tubes have been inserted, press Enter to start the test. The duration will be displayed as a countdown together with airline temperature, ambient temperature, oxygen content and pressure. The status of the individual tests is indicated on the left-hand side of the display. Black indicates test active and clear test completed. The unit can be left until the test time has elapsed. The readings on the display will now be locked and should be recorded on the results pad. The flow control valve can now be closed. Tube readings can be taken either at the end of the test or individually when the status bar indicates that flow has ceased through that particular port. Instructions on reading detector tubes and their safe disposal can be found in the documentation wallet. If the test sample contained carbon monoxide, a greyish stain will be present at the start of the white crystals on the CO tube. The extent of this must not be greater than 5 parts per million. A maximum carbon dioxide level of 500 parts per million is permissible in breathing air. The expected background level is approximately 300 parts per million, and this will be represented as a purple stain at the start of the CO2 tube. The oil tube differs from the others in that it operates by colour change rather than the extent of a stain against a scale. To establish whether oil was present in the sample, gently snap the tube as shown. Both the inner and outer tubes must break, but be careful not to tear through the outer plastic sleeve. Hold the tube upright with the crystals at the bottom and tap it to help the fluid that was contained within the inner tube flow onto the crystals. Once the crystals are wetted, wait 1 minute. If oil is present, a stain will appear immediately below the metal gauze. This will tend to be yellow for synthetic oil and brown for mineral oil. Any significant stain would indicate a fail. The water tube shows the amount of moisture present in the sample as a brownish stain on the yellow crystals. This is measured against the scale in milligrams per metre cubed. On an airline system, the pressure dew point must be at least 5 degrees Celsius below the lowest temperature at which the system will be used. For systems with no dryer or a fridge dryer, this can be calculated using the graph on the reverse of the results pad. Having selected high range moisture during the setup stage, multiply the tube reading by 10, locate the corresponding point on the horizontal axis of the graph and draw a line vertically from it. From a point where this line crosses the curve appropriate to the pressure at which the test was carried out, draw a horizontal line. Where this crosses the vertical axis, read off the pressure dew point and compare to the airline and ambient temperatures shown on the display. Take the lower of these two readings in deciding whether the system is safe to use. For systems with a desiccant dryer, the procedure is similar, but low-range moisture should be selected at setup stage. The tube reading should not be multiplied by 10, and the low-range graph appended to the instruction manual should be used. When all tube readings have been logged, the air should be disconnected by reversing the connection procedure. The unit can now be switched off by pressing and holding the on-off button, or restarted by pressing it briefly if further tests are to be carried out. The tester will automatically switch off after 1 hour if not used. Spent tubes should be placed in the container provided for disposal in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions when convenient.